The wind cut through the bus stop like a knife, rattling the sign and whipping her hair across her face. She shivered, hugging herself tightly, and stared down at the cracked pavement, trying to make herself smaller against the cold. That's when a stranger appeared, out of nowhere, and draped a warm jacket over her shoulders. She barely had time to protest before he had smiled and walked away, leaving her in shock and curiosity. Who was he? Why did he care? And why did that small, unexpected act feel like it had shifted something inside her forever? Before we dive into this story, take a moment to subscribe to Kindness Tellies if you love heartwarming, real-life stories. Hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear how kindness has touched your life too. He had always lived his life quietly. Working as a delivery driver in the suburbs of Chicago, his days were filled with early mornings, long hours behind the wheel, and conversations with no one but the occasional client. He wasn't rich, and he certainly wasn't famous, but he carried himself with a gentle calm that made people notice him in a subtle way. That morning, like every other, he had left his small apartment with a steaming cup of coffee, his old coat zipped up to keep out the harsh February wind, and a mindset focused purely on getting through the day. She, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. High-rise buildings, boardrooms, and billion-dollar contracts filled her life. As the CEO of a tech company, she was always surrounded by people who waited on her, called her name with urgency, and treated her every move as significant. But that morning, she was invisible in a way she hadn't been in years. Wrapped in her designer coat that somehow wasn't enough against the unexpected freeze, she was alone, waiting for a bus to take her to a meeting she had been dreading all week. Her mind raced with numbers, deadlines, and the pressure of keeping an empire afloat, and for the first time in months, she felt just like any other person, cold, vulnerable, and unnoticed. When he noticed her, the thought wasn't complicated. She looked cold, that was all. He had one coat, one jacket that had seen better days, and he could spare it for a few minutes. He walked over, hesitated for a heartbeat, and then gently placed the jacket over her shoulders. She froze at first, a little stunned by the unexpected gesture. He didn't ask for thanks. He didn't want anything in return. He just nodded and walked back toward the street, leaving her to wonder what had just happened. She clutched the jacket tightly, the warmth spreading slowly through her frozen body, and realized something strange. She didn't just feel warm physically. She felt seen. For the first time in a long time, someone had acted toward her without agenda, without expectation, and without hesitation. It wasn't about her title or her achievements. It was just about her, standing there in the wind, waiting for a bus. And somehow, that made her heart lift in a way that boardrooms and bonuses never could. The bus came, and she got on, still gripping the jacket like a lifeline. She couldn't shake the image of him, his tired eyes, the kindness in his expression, the simplicity of his gesture. She tried to tell herself it was nothing, just a random act of generosity, but deep down, she knew it meant something. Somehow, that brief encounter reminded her that the world could still surprise you in good ways, that connection wasn't always transactional, and that compassion could exist in the smallest, quietest forms. He, meanwhile, went about his day, delivering packages and greeting clients with his usual polite smile. He barely remembered the encounter himself, thinking it had been nothing more than a passing moment in the rhythm of his busy life. But that night, when he returned home and removed his jacket, he found something tucked in the pocket, a small note, scribbled in elegant handwriting. "Thank you for seeing me when no one else did. You have no idea how much that meant." It took him a moment to realize what it was. He had never expected any acknowledgement, never imagined that the woman he had helped was someone of importance, let alone a CEO whose face he had seen in magazines. The note didn't just express gratitude, it carried an emotion so raw and genuine that he felt a lump rise in his throat. He had acted simply out of instinct, yet it had made an impact far beyond what he could have imagined. The story didn't end there. A few days later, she asked her assistant to track him down, to thank him properly, to let him know how much his kindness had mattered. She insisted on meeting him in person, not because she wanted to reward him, but because she felt compelled to make sure he understood the depth of his gesture. When they met, there was a moment of recognition, a pause that neither of them could put into words. He looked at her, expecting a formal handshake, maybe a polite nod, but instead, she hugged him, and he felt something shift in his own heart. She explained how hard life could be at the top, how lonely it could feel surrounded by people who only saw the power you wielded, not the person you were. She shared how that small act of offering his jacket had reminded her that genuine human kindness still existed, that someone could act without motive, and that she could still trust in the goodness of others. His simple gesture had brought warmth to her body and soul on a day when both had been numb. In the weeks that followed, their worlds intertwined in unexpected ways. He began volunteering at a local community center she supported, not for recognition, but because he saw how meaningful even small contributions could be. She made it a point to check in with him, to include him in conversations, and to ensure that his quiet life was touched with opportunities and experiences he might never have imagined. Their friendship, born from a single act of kindness, grew naturally, deeply, and without pretense. What amazed her most wasn't the novelty of meeting someone outside her usual world, it was the reminder that acts of kindness didn't have to be grand to matter. Offering a jacket, a word of encouragement, a simple smile, could change someone's entire day, perhaps even their life. And for him, it became a quiet lesson in humility and human connection, showing that the smallest actions could ripple outward in ways we could never anticipate. Months later, she confided that she had carried that moment with her through countless board meetings, high-stakes negotiations, and sleepless nights. Whenever she felt overwhelmed or invisible, she would close her eyes and remember the warmth of that jacket, the gentleness of the gesture, and the sincerity in his eyes. It became a symbol of hope, a reminder that no matter how high you climb or how complex life becomes, the simplest forms of kindness remain the most profound. Even in the ordinary routines of their separate lives, they found ways to honor that day. He continued delivering packages, but with a new awareness, looking for moments to lift others, noticing the overlooked, the forgotten, the chilled and weary. She approached leadership not just with strategy and numbers, but with compassion, seeking to create workplaces that reflected the humanity she had felt from a stranger's generosity. Both were transformed, and the bond they shared, though quiet and unassuming, became a testament to the invisible threads of kindness that connect us all. Years later, they often reflected on that cold February morning, laughing at how life had turned from a simple exchange into something neither could have predicted. But more than laughter, there was gratitude, for the way one small act had created ripples that extended far beyond the bus stop. And every time they revisited that memory, they were reminded that we all have the capacity to make a difference, even in ways that seem insignificant at first. In the end, it wasn't about fame, wealth, or recognition. It was about being seen, about choosing to act with empathy, and about allowing compassion to guide us in moments when it might be easiest to look away. That jacket wasn't just fabric, it was a bridge between two lives, a warm thread weaving humanity into the cold, busy world. It proved that kindness can be quiet, unnoticed, yet utterly transformative. So next time you see someone struggling, consider what a small act could mean. A coat, a smile, a helping hand, sometimes that's all it takes to change the course of someone's day, or even their life. Share your own stories of kindness in the comments below, and let's keep the ripple going, reminding each other that every gesture matters, every heart matters, and the world is full of moments where simple humanity can shine brighter than any fortune or title ever could.